Well, that was kind of messy. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle here with the Stratosphere Lounge, and hey, quiet there, woman. Yeah, we were having all kinds of problems with the playback. It seemed to me that it was getting a little skippy. But anyway, here we are. And I actually prepared some music for tonight, but we didn't get to do it because up until about 6, 7 minutes before showtime, when we started rolling this thing, this goat rodeo, I was busy recording 2 episodes of my new show. I know I've had 15 or 20 new shows, and I know they've all come and gone, and I'll tell you why this one I think is going to work very briefly, and then we will do an hour's worth of questions, and we'll call it a night. It's good to be here on a Thursday special edition of Stratosphere Lounge. I hope everybody can see and hear me well. Yeah, brave wearing that Gator shirt after last weekend. I haven't watched the Gators this year, and I don't think I watched them last year. But yeah, they lost to Kentucky for the first time since I was in college. 39 years since they lost in Gainesville, 31 years since they lost to Kentucky at all. They look like they're just going to be appalling, and I can't bear to watch. Plus, all the free time. So here's here's what I've been doing and what I want. Dave Wellman, you can just leave the room right now with your comment about garnet and gold, which is not the colors of that other school. The other colors of that other school are ketchup and mustard. So here we go. So I'm having a devil of a time with this browser. I mean, it's just spinning wheels. So I'm assuming that everything's going out okay, but man, got some definite problems. I probably just need to restart this computer, but that's not going to happen now. Anyway. So here's the new show idea, and here's why it's a new show and why I think this one has a better chance. There are two things that are at play here. The first one is that the market is changing enormously. It has changed enormously since I started doing this. When I started doing it back in 2008. I had thought, and I believe this was the case at the time, I had thought that production values, things like, good graphics, opening title sequence, the whole, either the Afterburner virtual set at PJTV or the the burning lake of fire, and then the whoosh, here come the graphics and flame and all that stuff, which is extremely labor intensive. It would sometimes take me 7 or 8 hours just to pull stills, just for the stills to get pulled. That's not to format them. It's not to put them in there. None of the render times, nothing. But it certainly was worth it to me because getting started in this, the idea of wearing a suit and a tie, and then eventually just the suit and the shirt. I never wore pants because it just slowed me down. To me, it gave what I was saying credibility, and that was important. And credibility is still important. God knows mine was shot a long time ago. But in any event, what's changed over the last 10 years as YouTube has just become so ubiquitous is that what people are looking for on YouTube has changed, and especially what younger people, who are the people we need to reach more than anybody, has changed significantly. I've said this several times before. It's hard to. It's a hard thing for me to say because it's so counter to my experience, with being a television editor and film writer and film director and all that stuff. But what has happened is the world has changed to the point where the more I produce a show, the poorer it does, the fewer views it does. Because what has happened now has been a change for what people want. The people that are watching, especially young people, what we would call production values not only doesn't matter to them, but having a bunch of production values, including things like reading off a teleprompter, off a prepared script, all that stuff, actually weakens the engagement with the audience. The young people especially say, it seems phony, like he's, preaching. So there's that. The format has changed. What people are looking for has changed. The whole medium has changed. And the second thing is as realistic as I can make it, appraisal of my work methods, which have changed significantly over the years as well. There was a period there where these things were just bursting out of me, and I find that having done 400, I think, something like that, maybe a little more, firewalls and afterburners combined, that I have, when I get down to the actually writing it, I just feel like I just, what am I going to say that I haven't said already? And a final thing I should say, I guess, about the writing aspect of it, and the production, the firewall and afterburner production aspect of it, is that they would always slow me down, and they would slow me down so much that I would lose enthusiasm for the story. And perfect example of this was this thing with the Armstrong flag on the moon that we talked about last week. I thought I was going to be in there the next day, but we've had enormous website problems. Getting a new website, by the way, thanks to one of our viewers who's done a great mock-up, and God knows that's overdue. But our website was basically disintegrating in terms of its operating ability. It was just running up multiple charges to people that shouldn't have been charged, and so I just had 2-3 days of fires that I had to put out, and I'm still putting out. But here's the thing, I find that as I pass the 10-year mark in this game, what I find is that writing is harder and harder and harder, and I also find that the audience wants to see written material less and less and less. However, I just did an event on Sunday, and it was supposed to be 20 minutes of stuff I'd never really covered before, not in that length. I did 40, and they were pretty good. At least people watching it thought it was pretty good. So when you put together what audiences want to see, when you put together the willingness to do sitting and writing work, and then the camera work, and then the green screen work, and then I have to bring 30 gigabyte files from the back room into this machine, translate them. I have to put them through. I'm just trying to give you an idea of the work. I'm not crying or complaining by any means, but just so you understand. Let's say I want to talk about something I see in the news today. So in order to do it the way we had been doing it, I would have to read the story, think about it. Usually that took a couple days. And then I would have to sit down and I'd write it. Then I had to send the written script up online so that it could get to the teleprompter. And I have to get into hair and makeup and the costume and all the rest of it. We have to go into the back room there. We have to take a separate chip for the audio and a separate chip for the camera, the 4K camera, sync those babies up. We would usually do 2 takes of those. I'd come back with raw data files from the camera that were 40, 50 gigabytes. It would often take an hour just to transfer them up from the camera card back to the computer. Then I had to take that footage and I had to basically make it manageable size. I had to run it through this video converter to get it to H.264. Then I had to key it. And then I had to look at the script and figure out what pictures I was going to go with. And that would, no exaggeration now, would never take me less than 5 or 6 hours, and often took me 8 or 9 just to find the pictures, just to find them. Once I found them, then I had to take them into Photoshop. I had to format them. I had to get them all the right size. And then I had to go back into the thing. I had to put the key on. I had to adjust the key. I had to lay out the burning lake of fire. I had to put the stills where I wanted them. I had to do a graphic run-in of the fireball effect and a run-out of the fireball effect with the soundtrack for them both below. And basically, editing that thing took about a better part of a day to get it where I wanted it. Then we have to render it, which is going much faster with this computer we got back in 2014, but still, it's render time. And then after it's rendered, I then have to I have to upload it, and I have to link it, and I have to upload it to Facebook. I have to connect it to BillWhittle.com. So it's quite a procedure. And it's been costing me, especially with the other work I've been doing for on these videos, because I think that map of the millennials voting is just unbelievable. And one of the guys who's doing the guy who's doing the new website works in Utah. I don't know if he's watching now. I hope he is. He knows who he is. Utah, which on that map I used to show, is the only state that Republicans would carry if only millennials voted for president. Now, Utah is the only state that would go red. Everything else would be blue. And he works in Utah, and they found out he's a conservative, and they're making his life miserable. And this is where the country's going. And this is somebody's got to be there. Somebody's got to be talking to these young people. So I spent a lot of time this year, and I have a lot to show for it. I just haven't shown it yet. So a lot to show for it. But it has caused me to neglect the political stuff, especially with the reluctance to do all the writing. So I sat down and thought, what could we do that would solve all of this? Especially making the members happy, who have been unbelievably forgiving and as always, just incredibly generous. So we figured it should be something that had the intimacy and immediacy of the Stratosphere Lounge. So I just shot 2 episodes of it. I'll tell you what we did. It's me sitting in the chair. It's not the Stratosphere Lounge, but it's me sitting in this location because I don't have to touch anything. It goes right into the computer. I can upload it, and it's done. Yes, the famous Scott Ott is here. I'm glad he's here because his name was about to be mentioned. So I knew if I was going to get content out regularly, it had to be something that I didn't have to write, and especially do that wagon train of post-production on single-handedly. And I thought, okay, I think people would probably like to hear from me every day more than every other month with a pretty background. And since I'm good live, I think I'm better live than I am scripted. It needed to be something that didn't require post-production, needed to be something that was live, something that wasn't written. And then it was like, I got to pick a topic. And then I realized, no, we let the membership pick the topics. We had a show called Time Over Target that we did, 150 episodes of, until finally we just ran out of questions from the members. But those questions were evergreen questions. What do you think about gun control? Or what do you think about the situation in Venezuela? And I think most people are interested I'm certainly most interested in talking about what's going on today, or at least this week. So here's what we came up with. I was going to take a question from the BillWhittle.com membership every day, and I was going to do 7 to 10 minutes on it in this chair, but every day. And I was just going to read the question, and off we go. And I told Scott about that when we were doing the preparation for the right angles this last Tuesday. And Scott Ott said, what if I were to ask you the questions, and then that way I could add a follow-up or interject something interesting or humorous into the otherwise endless discussion of me just blabbing on and on. I thought that's rather a good idea. So what we ended up with is something that's very simple. We did 2 of them in half an hour at the most. So here's what we got. We've got a show, and we were thinking about calling it. Scott doesn't know this. I was thinking, man, it's not really right angle with 2 people. It's not like we took away the third corner, because if that was it, I would have called it straight line, which is 2 on the nose. And it's not really exactly an interview show. But here's what it is. Scott tees up a question that comes from the news of this week, certainly this week, and hopefully this day. He selects them, I don't select them, and I don't know what they're going to be. And to that extent, they're a bit like 60-second SmackDowns, but those also require a fair amount of post-production work. And I can't really cover the ground I want to cover in 60 seconds, but I don't want to take an hour either. So here's the plan. BillWhittle.com members, and if they're not available from BillWhittle.com members, then the MeWe page, submit questions, and Scott selects them. And then on Monday nights and Thursday nights, we record the episodes. So we'll try and do the hot story for Monday on Monday night, the hot story for Thursday on Thursday night, and none of them will ever be more than 2 days old. Scott asks the question. I go on, and on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And then I forget what happens after that. Oh, then Scott will ask for, like, sometimes one of them he asks for a clarification, he asks for elaboration, he connected some things to some other things. Anyway, I'll just say this: it was the most fun I've had doing television. It was just a blast. It was like that show I did with that other guy. The name escapes me now. I think I did a show with somebody else. It's all lost in the mists of time. Except this show is far better than that show because you don't have to waste time listening to the other guy talk. And who needs to spend? Nobody has that kind of free time listening to whatever his name was. So that's it. So we got 2 of them in the can. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to put one up tomorrow, and we're going to keep it up over the weekend to advertise it. We shot Monday's show already, so that'll be up on Monday morning. Tuesday morning, we will have the shows that we shot on Monday night. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we will shoot Monday night. And then Thursday night, we'll shoot Friday and the following Monday. Be nice if maybe we can move that up a little bit. We'll see. But right now, that's the plan. And Scotty's in the comment section now for those of you that are watching live on Twitch, which is an enormously improved situation over Ustream. And I thought they went great. I really had a great time. I thought they were punchy and fun and just the right length and interesting and topical. But the main thing is, oh, thank you, Scott. Reminds me of everything. He was the guy who suggested the pants thing, and I fought it every step of the way. We're going to put the first one up tomorrow morning, and we're going to run it over the weekend. And he says, what time does the first episode go up? Because here's the reason why I have some confidence in this lasting more than 20 episodes. First of all, there's an actual shoot date like we have for Right Angle, and we've occasionally had to move Right Angle because of Steve or Scott or me. But, we've never, I don't think I've missed one of them. We haven't missed one since we started. So it actually gets done. We shoot 5 episodes in one day, and we'll be doing less than that for this. So it gets done. There's a shoot time on Monday night and Thursday night, and if we can do it earlier in the week, we try that. So there's an actual time. But the main reason I feel good about this is because it includes the one thing that is most essential to me as I'm trying to do my best job of the political work, which I think is live, and at the same time roll this enormous boulder up a hill pixel by pixel. The great thing about it is I shoot it and I leave it alone. I shoot it, it goes on the drive, I convert it to 24 frames a second, and I upload it. Scott's got it already. He's editing it while we speak. Since I don't have to touch it, there's a reasonable chance that it'll get finished. And Scott, bless his little heart, is an actual working man, and things don't happen on bill time in Texas. So Bill's hot take is not bad, I have to say. Times Judge, otherwise known as you know who. Don't think you're fooling us here with these various aliases, just trying to escape from your sex offender posters, buddy. We know who's who around here. So I actually think it's going to happen. I really do. It has to happen because I've been burning way too many brownie points, for which I'm eternally grateful from the membership and the regular fans. I've put so much time and money and effort into this other thing. I'm very, very proud of it. But it also occurred to me, and this is the last thing I'll say, and we'll get on to the questions. We'll do an hour of questions, so let's start at 6:30, I guess. The final thing I'll say is this. It has been a species of agony for me this last year, being so fixated and so obsessed and so excited about working on this everybody calls it video game stuff. That's really just a very small part of it. I've obviously not been very clear on it. Mainly being able to do entertainment messaging, doing messaging with actors and lights and cameras and special effects and sound effects and music and all the rest of it. So every day I would sit here and just be completely drawn to that work, knowing I'm just, letting the candle burn down on the other stuff. And finally, I think the thing that's so motivating about this is I got a shoot time for right angles, and I have a shoot time for these shows, and then everybody gets their little dose of what is this? Final thing I'll say is this, Dave Big Booty. LOL. Yeah, that's funny. Here's the final thing I'll say about that, Dave. The final thing I'll say about that is that when you hear me say final thing I'll say about that for the 5th time, we're approaching the end. And there's one more thing I want to say about that. So anyway, that's it. So we're real happy, and so far so good. So I'm hoping to get daily content up, without all the distractions of other people talking. I will say that the first question that we got, the one that's going to run over the weekend, is why don't you run for office? Which is a fun question and fun answer. And not to give the whole show away, but spoiler alert, but somewhere in there I said the last thing I want to do, as a job, is to go in there and sit in a room listening to other people gassing about things that they know nothing about. That's my job. And so there we go. And thank you, Eric, for saying he's 100% on board with the entertainment thing. There's been a year. Natasha will swear to this. She'll tell you how I'm at the computer till usually 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm up usually around 8, and every single pixel I've had to do, except for the fact that lately a Loudmouth Fighter Pilot and Known Miscreant did some terrific work, really terrific work on putting together some commercials that we're going to port into the game. So that was the first thing that I haven't had to do myself, and it's a nice feeling. But everything. So when you see the final result, I'm pretty confident that you'll at the very least understand where I spent the time, and with some luck you'll understand why I did it and what the power of it is. But at least you'll understand where the work is, because it's on the screen. It really does look good. And so that, my friends, is that. So I'm glad I got that out of the way, and I'm very, very happy to be doing daily stuff. So let's go to our Facebook page, why don't we, and see what's a cooking over at the corner. I'm going to detach this page and make it its own page. That's what I'm going to do. Come on, look, I've got some real internet issues. It's really slow today. You go over here. Perfect. Scroll. Excellent. All right, here we go. And so we'll just do questions for 1 hour. We'll go to 7:31 p.m. and then we will call it a night, because I have a ton of stuff to do still. And hopefully you guys are still seeing me, because all I see is the spinning wheel of death, but everything else is looking good. All right, so here we go. This is the Thursday edition, and I'm looking at, again, all I have is the thumbs up. I'll try and do it not in the chronological order that I read them, but in the thumbs up thing as best I can.